What's up, all you lovely internet movie fans, and welcome back to Caped Commentary. I'm, of course, your host, Austin Johnson, and I have a packed show full of movie news to discuss with a wide variety of topics like, hey, Miami Vice is getting a remake, reportedly Austin Butler, Michael B. Jordan. Bring me that right now. That's the duo that I did not know I needed. 2025 has been an awesome year for all us horror movie fans. It's the biggest year on record for horror movies. We'll discuss that. We have some awesome VisionQuest updates. DC Salvation Run, possible movie incoming. We'll see about that. I love that idea. And then Warner Brothers. Are they selling? Who are they selling to? Who could it be and why it should not be Netflix? And then Tron Ares. Whew, rough box office go for them, but there's a ton of movie news to discuss for you guys. Let's dive into all the topics right now and discuss everything. Let's talk about Invincible. Invincible Season 4 is coming next year into a packed year of television that I will discuss at a later date, but Invincible Season 4 is coming in March of 2026. I loved Season 3 of Invincible with what's his face? Why am I blanking on it? With Jeffrey Dean Morgan voicing Conquest. Jesus, I'm sorry. But we got Conquest. That battle was amazing. The storytelling was outstanding in Season 3. I loved it. I'm all in on this. I can't wait to see where we're headed in the future seasons. But Season 4 we know will debut in March. And we know that we're getting Thragg in some capacity in Season 4. For those of you that know, obviously Thragg is like the big bad overarching villain of the Invincible universe, and we're getting him in some capacity for Season 4, and we got the reveal, of course, of who will be voicing that awesome character. Lee Pace will be the voice of Thragg for Season 4. Let me know, are you guys excited about that? I don't really know much about Lee Pace, but he has a great voice. Of course, we all know he did Ronin in the Guardians franchise. That's probably where you know him most from, but he's been in other stuff as well. A great voice, and I am so excited for his version and hearing him voice Thragg. That's a character that I am so looking forward to. I'm intrigued by. I love Season 3. Like I said, I can't wait for Season 4 because that show is outstanding. If you have not watched Invincible, watch that show and then come back and get ready for Season 4 because it's going to be outstanding and great. And I can't wait to see the whole gang back from Alan to Mark, Adam, Eve, and all the whole slew of characters. I'm so excited for Invincible Season 4 and bring it on. Give it to me right now. So sticking in the realm of television, VisionQuest. We're finding out a lot about VisionQuest, and it's a show that I wasn't necessarily that excited for, but the more I find out about this show, the more excited that I am. I am loving everything that's coming out about this show. Dumb E, we're getting Jarvis, Jocasta, Ultron, all back, and it's going to follow White Vision, of course, having the memories of our old Vision, and he's going to be trying to decipher these, figure them out, and we're getting James Spader actually in human form too as Ultron. I'm very curious to see if that's more like a devil on the shoulder type of thing. What's the deal there? I don't know, but Vision Quest sounds outstanding. And of course, Vision Quest is the third series in a 3-part overall story from WandaVision to Agatha and to now Vision Quest. And we know that we're supposed to get the incarnation of Tommy, we know Speed from the Wanda and Vision, kind of like their sons. Is he real? We're supposed to get him as some sort of incarnation for the show as well. So, like I said, this show has me very, very intrigued. I am so looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to see the portrayals. I'm looking forward to seeing these characters. If they're going to be like AIs, kind of envisions mine. Is he kind of create what he thinks they would look like in human form? How is this going to work? But it's so intriguing. It's got a great showrunner in Terry Matalas. So I'm all there for it. And like I said, Ultron is such an underused, uniquely just very cool and interesting character, and so I'm excited to see more of Ultron. I love James Spader, bring him back in any capacity as possible. So knowing that we're getting Ultron, but then also a James Spader human form of him, I'm all for it. And then we got Jocasta, so just be prepared because Vision Quest is a show that we might not know that we needed, but it's going to be great and has huge potential. So sticking in the Marvel realm, we can also dive into Daredevil Born Again, and we know that show will be debuting and premiering in March of 26 as well, along with Invincible. So that's going to be a packed month for shows in general. But Daredevil Born Again Season 2, I love the first season. It was so great. And this is going to be a much more cohesive, tight-knit season because the guys who directed episode 1 and then the final 2 episodes from season 1 are doing the whole season this time for season 2. So it's going to make a lot more sense from a narrative perspective and a cohesive overall storytelling arc. So I'm very excited for that. And that's one of the biggest things that I think a lot of people had with season 1. That was the biggest flaw. Some episodes kind of felt out of place in the storytelling and the pacing and some of the creative decisions kind of were off and kind of like all over the place in certain episodes, but especially with the Muse storyline. But I think knowing that we're getting them for this whole season, that's great news. And of course, we know where season 1 left off with that massive cliffhanger and what's happening with Wilson Fisk, and like we're getting some of the Defenders back, possibly with Jessica Jones coming back now. I'm all for it. I love this. And then, of course, feed me as much Punisher as possible. Give him to me in this show. And Daredevil, I think we're going to see him in the black suit. Yes. Give me that. I'm so excited. And we know it's going to be impacted slightly, because it's confirmed, by the events of Spider-Man. I might have that reversed. I think Spider-Man will be impacted by the events of Daredevil Season 2. So let's flip that around. But besides that, I can't wait for Season 2. I love Season 1. It was great, and continue to see those characters, that storyline develop in the arc of what's going to happen with the grounded kind of mayoral stuff that goes on in Hell's Kitchen. Bring it on. Feed it to me. I listen now into some DC news. And apparently they've registered the trademark of Salvation Run as a title. So I don't know if we're going to be getting a Salvation kind of storyline in terms of like a TV like series or an arc or an actual Salvation movie. But this excites me wholeheartedly, because we know that James Gunn is loosely pulling from narrative storylines and threads from the Salvation comic run. He's already come out and said that. So, and we know how Peacemaker Season 2 ended, with Peacemaker being stranded on that Earth, and they want to put all the metahumans and all like the people who are superpowered on there. And we know Man of Tomorrow, of course, is going to like be a Lex point of view story arc with Superman along. So this is such good news in terms of what we're going to be doing with Salvation Run movie. So if we're able to take that, and as they continue to pile metahumans and criminals into that Earth, I'm very curious to see how they do Salvation and what the overall story could be, because I do believe it's going to be like a Lex kind of led team, or if it's going to be Lex kind of like plotting for all these villains to eventually get out and kind of come to Earth, and he's going to be like the savior to an extent with using the war suit, and Superman will maybe figure that out and try and tell the people, hey, Lex is against you guys, he's kind of like forcing the narrative, he's tricking you, you don't believe your eyes. Like, I don't know, but this is just like, it's intriguing knowing that they're going to be doing this. I'm excited for it, because I think overall there's so much anticipation around the future of the DC universe and what they're going to do, because we know what they're kind of pulling from. We know some of the threads that are there, it's being planted, the seeds are there. I'm all for it, and I'm excited about it. It's fun to theorize and kind of come to things like what's going to happen here, what's going to happen there. So I'm for it. I love this news. I think Salvation Run is a very cool title that people are going to be interested in. We may not know what that means, but the more you hear about it and then how it unfolds, I think people will be all for that. I'm excited for it, because is that going to take place on that alternate Earth? Like, what's it going to be? I don't know. And we're going to see so many cool different villains and comic like characters. I'm all for it. Bring on Salvation Run. Feed it to me right now. And that news can kind of dovetail into this whole Warner Brothers news that we're going to take a minute to talk about. Warner Brothers is openly for sale. They're making no secret about it, and it's pretty open knowledge. Everyone knows this by now. They're going to be sold and bought. The decision now is just by who. The big players we know right now are Netflix, Paramount, who's been rejected 3 times now by Warner Brothers, and reportedly there's people like Apple, Comcast, Universal is in the picture, Amazon, Disney is like one of the names that can't be like just like pushed out there, but I don't think Disney's going to be buying WB. That wouldn't make sense at all. But it's just like, it should worry you as people. I get the business side of things, because Warner Bros. Has so much debt. Zaslav bought, like, he became CEO, and they merged like Warner Bros. With Discovery to create WBD with the intent of wholeheartedly selling it off eventually at some point. And given all the massive debt that they have, I think they're going to split it ultimately into 2 different sections. You have WB Studios, and you'll probably have like the Warner Bros. Discovery like aspect, or just Discovery, however they do it, and like officially split it up. I don't know. But I do think they can consolidate kind of their studio, HBO Max portion, and then like the whole like all the other shit that comes along with it. But this is just, it's interesting to be like, hear the players that are kind of like going along and ones that are interested parties, and for the reasons. I'm not gonna get into all of that stuff right this second. Be sold, and like with these different players, like I said, I think Netflix is the worst one that could possibly buy them. I don't want to see Netflix buying or touching anything near Warner Bros. Because think of all the great movies that we've gotten from WB this year, and the massive openings and streak that they had this year with $40+ million opening movies, 7+. What if none of those had hit theaters? What if you didn't get a chance to see Sinners, Weapons, Superman? What if none of those were seen in theaters? They're all straight to streaming movies, are day and date releases. Think how just terrible that would be for movie-going audiences and people who love getting out the house, hanging out with their friends, going with their family, going with their loved ones, or by themselves, to sit down and see a great overall product and be entertained on the biggest screen possible. That just sounds terrible, and that's why I think Netflix is the worst possible option to buy WB, and I really don't think that they will be the ones who ultimately end up purchasing them, but that's just, I don't want to see Netflix. It would just kill movies and the creative people over there, and all the people who have been putting together such great movies and releases over at WB. I don't want to see that at all, and just think for all my comic fans, the superhero genre, what would that do for Netflix if you're hearing, hey, look I can't wait to go see Supergirl, but you can watch it on Netflix this weekend, or you can go to the theaters, but they're both at the same time. It's just diminishing returns. It's just terrible. Not good. And then Paramount, which I think Paramount ultimately wants WB for, like, the other stuff that comes with it, that, like, overall, the overall franchise with the news networks and the outlets. That's fine. That's all well and good in terms of, you can get your opinions on that, what you may be, if possible, but I don't think Paramount, and I don't know if WB wants necessarily to sell to Paramount given the 3 overall rejections they've had already. We know there's just pressure from this administration right now saying, hey, you should probably sell to Paramount, and so you can have your opinion on that. You can know that. I don't think that's a good thing to be pressuring any studio to be selling to that, because I think the competition rules and, like, regulations and regulators, I don't think that's good at all. I don't like that aspect one bit. I think it's a dangerous precedent to set right now, so I'm wholeheartedly definitely against Paramount as well. Although, I do believe David Ellison, who, you know, obviously, like, the things that go with him, I think he does love movies to an extent, but I think he does want WB, obviously, for ulterior motives and such, but I don't know if Paramount will lead also the people and creators in place to necessarily be there. I think Apple is the best choice to purchase WB, and that's who I would personally want to see purchase them, because they've worked together, obviously, with F1, they know the team over there, and that would be the big franchise or big studio that they could have now. They would have all the lots that come with, and the studios and the sets that come with purchasing WB. They would leave all the creators probably in place over there. They've worked with them together, like I said, with F1, and then they get that catalog, that massive HBO Max catalog. And Apple does very well with television. Like, don't get me wrong, you may not watch Apple, they may have the biggest subscriber base in terms of their, like, app and streaming service, but they have great television shows on there. Like, Shrinking is one of the most beloved shows out there. And then, of course, they had Ted Lasso and a whole slew of other shows that are on there, too. So I think Apple and what they would do, they never have the money. No bones about it. Apple has the money. And I think they would be looking for that studio they could kind of partner with and leave intact for the most part, too. And you just get that big catalog to go with Apple TV. HBO Max will probably be there, too. I don't know how that would work overall. But be able to get them, leave the studio in place, and leave WB in place. Creatives like DeLuca and Abdi, who are overall the head of the, like, WB Pictures and all the studios aspect and things, and James Gunn over at DC portion of Warner Bros. So I think Apple is the best one. Number 2 would be Amazon, because Amazon is trying to delve more into the movie wide releases that they're trying to producing. Of course, they do great with television. Like, The Boys is great. Reacher, Jack Ryan, they do great with television, so I trust them with that, and I think they would kind of want to invest more and more money with that too, and have that good studio, because we already know they have Amazon Studios, but if they could get that kind of, that IP, that catalog now, and then they do want to dive more, like I said, into the theatrical releases, I think they would be a great suitor to have with WB. And then number 3, Comcast Universal, because thinking of it from, like, the ride perspective in terms of, like, the Universal Studios and, like, with, like, the theme parks and everything, I think purchasing WB actually would be very, very smart for them to do in terms of the stories that you can now tell at your theme parks with the DC Universe and a whole slew of other stuff. So those would be my top 3 with Apple, Amazon, and Comcast Universal. Those would be the top 3 for sure. But like I said, I don't want to see WB, absolutely not to Netflix. That is the one bare bones no-go for me. Do not sell to Netflix. But I'm curious, what do you guys think? Do you think WB will end up selling? I personally think they do. I think it's pretty obvious at this point. Who do you want to see them be sold to? And do you think they'll split the studio up, split WB up into, like, 2 separate entities and have a lot of, like, the Discovery portion and they'll carry a lot of the debt? Do you think, like, WB Studios will be a second, like, its own entity is sold off as well, and have, like, all of the WB properties, the studios, HBO Max, DC? We'll see, but I'm curious. Let me know what you guys think and comment down below on that. Now, to the big thing that I want to talk about, 2 of these things that are both exciting for vastly different reasons. First off, apparently, Miami Vice is getting a reboot with Michael B. Jordan and Austin Butler said to be the top 2 rumored people for those roles. Give me that right now. Like, that sounds amazing. Austin Butler, I've come to love him as an actor more and more and more as of late. I loved him in Caught Stealing, a movie that was not for everyone by any means necessary, but hey, I liked it a lot. It worked for me, and he worked for me in that role he played in that movie for sure. And seeing him to be paired with Michael B. Jordan in Miami Vice with like speedboats and the aesthetic look, working against like solving drugs and like everything about that sounds amazing. It works for me. I am for it. I hope that happens. That needs to happen. That dynamic would be outstanding. That movie would be for me, and it would just work so well. Like, you can tell I'm excited about that if it comes true, because I love those two, and I would think they would work great and wondrous together. Like, that's a great dynamic. You have two extremely good actors. A Miami Vice remake with what it could be possibly made. Like, give me that now. I'm all for that too. Like, the dynamic would be outstanding. Like I've said before, Miami Vice, you've seen like Jamie Foxx was prior in prior roles. You got Colin Farrell. So I think these two are like, these are very well-known actors who are very good at their craft, and the dynamic, I think, that could work. The aesthetic, the storytelling that could be used and told. Like, I'm curious where it would take place. Would it be like in a modern day kind of like interpretation and remake of the movie? Would it be like a 70s, 80s, maybe 90s version? Who knows? But like, just seeing them in the outfits, the aesthetic, like going busting people, driving the car, like, I'm for that. I love this. I needed to come true. I didn't know I needed them, but hey, feed that to me now. Give me that. Do you want to see a Miami Vice remake with Austin Butler and Michael B. Jordan? I do. 1,000,000%. I need that movie. Let me know what you guys think. Do you want that too? Do you think it'll happen? Who will be your top two choices to play those two characters? Comment down below and let me know. And I love to hear all your different thoughts and theories and who you want to see. And finally, for all my horror fans out there, it's been an amazing year. The best year on record ever. Beating 2017, 2021. Horror movies have had an amazing year. Like, think of some of the movies that we've gotten this year alone in the horror franchise. Sinners, the top movie of the year for me so far, a shoo-in for a Best Picture nomination. I think at this point now, Sinners is outstanding. Weapons, love that movie. Zach Cregger, phenomenal job with that movie. It's in my top 10. I loved Weapons. Final Destination Bloodlines, a fun movie that made way more money than it should have. The Conjuring, holy cow, don't get me started on the box office returns for that franchise, and that movie was great, and I actually loved The Conjuring. I thought it was very good, and it was an upgrade from their previous iterations that we got recently. The Black Phone 2, what a follow-up to a great first movie. Black Phone 2 was great, outstanding. I loved The Black Phone 2. I thought it was one of the better sequels for a horror movie we got in a really long time. Phenomenal, great job with that. And there's been so many other movies too, like think of Together, another creepy kind of horror movie, Bring Her Back, and a whole slew of other stuff too. And this all makes sense. Over $1 billion at the box office for horror movies, 1.2 to be exact. Record-breaking year. And we're not done yet with horror movies. There's still Five Nights at Freddy's, Five Nights at Freddy's 2, I should say. That's going to do very well at the box office too, and it's going to clean up. And they've all been of good to great quality. That's the biggest thing possible right now. So they've all been good to great. So they're all feeding off of one another too. They're just getting the box office returns made sense because they haven't really been that bad. They've all just been like steady to good to great, and they've all crept up and they're all feeding off of each other, which is why the box office returns have been so great. People love horror movies. We want to go see these types of movies. They're great. Like, this doesn't just mean studios can be like, oh hey, we should only make horror movies. No, but learn your lessons. People are going to see these, so don't just like push them aside. They're very cheap to make well, not very cheap, but they don't cost as much as these big blockbuster franchises. And horror has great returns. Look at what A24 does with horror movies, and like think of all these other studios are now starting to come out there with Focus, and like WB has been great. So I am all for the horror rejuvenance and revival this year. It's been great to see. I am loving it. I'm all for it. Bring on all the horror movies. Like I said, it's not just IP franchises. It's a mixture of originals coupled with great IP franchise follow-ups too. And I think that's the biggest thing possible. So these horror movies, they're not just like these slop follow-ups, just cash grabs. No, sure, there's probably an aspect to that because they seem to make money, but there's been some great original thoughts and scripts that are out there, which I absolutely love. And I think this is great. And like I said, they uplifted each other with some great returns, and there's still more to come. And like I said, Sinners is almost a shoo-in to be nominated, not win, but nominated for Best Picture at this point in time. Think about that. This is great news, and I think more people should go see these movies. If you haven't seen them, like I said, there's so many out there that you should go check out. With Weapons just now dropping on HBO Max, go watch that. It's just a great time for us horror movie fans. The biggest box office returns of the year of ever, for any year ever. So get excited for that. Go see some of these movies out there, like I said, and let me know if you like any of these, which ones have been your favorite, which ones haven't you seen but you're still looking forward to, and comment and let me know your thoughts down below. So that's all I have for you guys today. Just some small note-keeping items as well. Fantastic Four First Steps comes to Disney Plus on November 5th. I'll be watching that. I love that movie. It's a great iteration. It's a great telling of the franchise. It's the best one, obviously, in the franchise, and it takes place in the new universe. It's a great aesthetic. Pedro is great as Reed. Vanessa Kirby is the unsung hero, with Johnny Storm, just Quinn, one of the better storytellings, and the thing looks absolutely outstanding. And like I said, we have Galactus in that movie too, so it hits streaming on November 5th. Go see that movie. And that's all the movie news that I have for you guys today. Again, thank you for tuning in to Caped Commentary. I'm, of course, your host, Austin Johnson. I look forward to hearing your guys' thoughts and comments on all the movie news that I discuss today. And I will see you guys next Tuesday here on my channel for Caped Commentary, a new episode recapping all the movie news from this coming week. I love you guys. I will see you next Tuesday at 3 p.m. for a new episode of Caped Commentary. Love you guys.